Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. The plutonium device Fat Man, shown here with two scientists, marked a decisive military advance when it was used in Nagasaki in 1945. The attack caused large-scale human loss, forever changing the world's understanding of the effects of nuclear war. A few hours before dying in front of the Dakota Building in New York, John Lennon signed a record for Mark David Chapman on December 8, 1980. This episode deeply marked pop culture and symbolized the early loss of an icon of music and peace. News reports describe Japan's surrender on August 14, 1945, ending World War II. The news caused celebration in the United States after the atomic attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, marking the end of a global conflict that reshaped the world order and began the Cold War. The International Tribunal in Nuremberg in 1946 tried German leaders after World War II, establishing a legal milestone on responsibility in major conflicts. This process changed international justice, creating precedents for accountability in future crises. The action against the German leader on July 20, 1944, at the place known as the Wolf's Lair, marks one of the most critical episodes of World War II. The failed attempt to remove him from power exposed internal resistance against the German regime, shaking its confidence and bringing harsh repression against the conspirators. Jacob Miller, a veteran of the American Civil War, represents an important legacy of the conflicts from 1861 to 1865, which defined the future of the United States. His presence in an 1899 photo symbolizes the lasting impact of that war on American memory and national identity. His image reinforces this narrative. A damaged airplane stuck on the fifth floor of a building in Berlin symbolizes the damage caused by World War II, which ended in 1945. The urban marks reflect the impact of Allied attacks on the German capital, which led to the end of the conflict and the later division of the city, shaping post-war Europe. Polish priest Maximilian Kolbe became known for his courage after offering himself in place of a prisoner at Auschwitz. His example symbolized humanitarian resistance in the face of the German regime's brutality, becoming a landmark of solidarity and faith. Hiroo Onoda, an imperial Japanese soldier, remained hidden in the Philippine jungle for 30 years after the end of World War II, being found on March 11, 1974. His case shows extreme endurance and the difficulty of communication between soldiers and command after the war. The battleship Hood, a symbol of the British Navy, was lost on May 24, 1941 in the Battle of the Denmark Strait after being hit by German fire. This event marked a major loss for the United Kingdom in World War II. 7 people rest in the living room of a house in an English city shortly after an air raid during World War II. In 1945, these episodes affected several urban areas, forcing families to seek temporary shelter in neighbors' homes. This situation shows the human impact and solidarity among civilians. An Armenian member pictured in the Nagorno-Karabakh War symbolizes the region's fight for independence, marked by intense clashes beginning in 1988. This episode created major political and social consequences, influencing relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan to this day. N. Brill, recorded in a photo of the facade of 29 Hanbury Street in London, was connected to the scene of the second case attributed to Jack the Ripper in 1888. This episode shocked Victorian society and increased pressure for police reforms, changing investigative approaches at the time. Sherman's March in 1864 revealed the Union's decisive strategy to weaken the Confederates by destroying supplies on the way from Atlanta to the sea. This campaign accelerated the end of the Civil War, deeply affecting the South's economy and morale, and changing the course of American history. Soviet soldiers celebrate victory over Germany at the Reichstag building in Berlin, a symbolic milestone of the end of World War II in Europe in May 1945. This victory ended the war on the Eastern Front and consolidated Soviet influence in Central Europe, creating deep geopolitical changes. During World War I in 1915, messenger dogs like this played a vital role by crossing German military areas to carry crucial messages. This fast communication influenced strategies and prevented numerous clashes, showing innovation in the harsh and static setting of that period. Marilyn Monroe, a cinema icon of the 1950s, symbolizes the era of glamour and the popularization of color film. In 1955, her striking style influenced fashion and pop culture, while her career helped establish Hollywood as a global reference. Her image remains a post-war milestone. Kirk Douglas, a classic movie star, appeared at the Venice Film Festival in 1953 while signing autographs on Lido Beach, an event that reinforced the festival's international importance for film culture and global stardom, while also promoting tourism and cultural exchange after the war. Kenneth Warwick and Frank Grell, teenagers who escaped from the Fort Dodge jail on August 8, 1945, managed to flee after their girlfriends smuggled saws inside cakes. This episode reveals creativity and boldness in a period just after the end of World War II. The Messerschmitt 109, a revolutionary fighter of the 1940s, was tested in the most advanced wind tunnel of the time, ensuring decisive aerodynamic improvements for World War II. This contributed to the fighter's superior performance in aerial combat and to German air superiority. The development of the Krumlov by Germany during World War II represented a technical innovation by allowing soldiers to fire around corners, offering a tactical advantage in urban operations. This technology aimed to reduce the operator's direct exposure in a hostile environment, influencing military strategies. The United States Army developed child-sized masks with playful designs, such as the Mickey Mouse character during World War II, to protect children from chemical threats. This initiative symbolizes the effort to guide civilians on preventive measures and adapt equipment for vulnerable groups. John McCain, a United States naval pilot, leads his squadron in 1965, a period marked by the Vietnam War, a conflict that redefined American foreign policy and intensified debates over military intervention. His experience reflected the risks and challenges faced by aviators in that long war. Soldiers wearing typical 1940s uniforms hold artillery ammunition marked with English writing, indicating military production aligned with World War II efforts, a conflict that transformed the arms industry and decisively influenced global geopolitics from 1939 to 1945. This period marked an intense industrialization of war, essential to the Allied victory. The operation recorded in 1942 points to the context of World War II, a critical moment that mobilized rescue and resistance efforts. This event symbolizes human efforts in the face of damage and limited resources, creating a significant impact in the search for survival and freedom. Children in worn clothing and old shoes reflect the harsh economic reality of the 1929 crisis, which marked the 1930s. Despite the obvious hardships, they preserved dignity and innocence. This era pushed social and political reforms to confront unemployment and poverty. Albert Einstein appears in 1933 with his son, Hans Albert, and his grandson, Bernhard Caesar, the year he left Germany because of persecution by the German regime, reinforcing his crucial role in warning about the European crisis that preceded World War II. His departure marked the exile of major intellectuals and the impact on world science. The meeting between Tsar Nicholas II of Russia and King George V of the United Kingdom in Berlin in 1913 took place before the outbreak of World War I in 1914. This meeting symbolizes the complex network of European royal alliances, which, even with family ties, did not prevent the devastating conflict that reshaped the continent and led to the collapse of empires. The arrival of American forces in Tianjin after the Japanese occupation marked liberation in 1945. This event was crucial to the end of World War II in the Far East, restoring Chinese sovereignty and influencing the course of conflicts in Asia. The population celebrated the return of freedom. Martha Calamity Jane was a notably fearless figure of the American Old West, famous for her shooting skills and for challenging women's roles of the time. In the late 19th century, her figure helped shape the legendary image of pioneer women on the American frontier. Mike Tyson, at 18 years old, and his trainer, Cus D'Amato, prepare in New York shortly before Tyson's professional debut in 1985, a milestone that began the career of one of boxing's greatest heavyweights, revealing the importance of strict training and dedication in a global sports rise. The Beach Boys, an iconic band of the 1960s and 1970s, performed in 1978 at Giant Stadium, a venue known for major sports and music events in the United States. This phase marked a transition in rock and pop, influencing the development of popular music worldwide. Quality music brought generations together. The Antarctic snow cruiser Penguin 1 was a self-sufficient mobile vehicle developed in 1940 for Antarctic exploration, symbolizing an advance in polar engineering. Although innovative, it faced practical difficulties, showing the challenges of scientific expeditions in extreme environments. This initiative expanded knowledge about the region. The construction of the world's first Ferris wheel marked the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, representing an advance in engineering and entertainment, designed by George Ferris. This milestone redefined international fairs and established new attractions for popular exhibitions, influencing modern amusement parks. The photographic manipulation of Emperor Franz Joseph and Empress Elizabeth, made in Austria in the 1870s, symbolizes the effort to strengthen the image and prestige of the Austro-Hungarian monarchy. This technique, pioneering for the time, aimed to influence public perception during a moment of imperial consolidation. The expedition led by John Wesley Powell in 1871 made its first camp on the Green River in Wyoming Territory, exploring harsh and unknown areas of the American West. This journey was a milestone for mapping and understanding the Colorado Desert, influencing cartography and regional science. Egyptian men watched the Graf Zeppelin airship fly over the pyramids of Giza in 1931, a milestone of the aviation age that showed intercontinental technological progress. This event symbolized the connection between ancient traditions and modernity in Egypt. The photograph reflects the meeting of the past and progress. The Great Ball Court at Chichen Itza highlights the importance of ball games in Maya civilization, being the largest and most famous of the pre-Columbian era. Its construction reveals architectural and social advances, marking a cultural milestone that influenced local religion and politics in the centuries before the Spanish conquest. Helena, Montana, in 1874, stood out as one of the gold rush centers in the American West, attracting workers and merchants who boosted the local economy. The presence of businesses, such as the Belmont Saloon and Union Brewery, reflected the prosperity and emerging social life of this frontier city during the territorial expansion of the United States. American sailors in Virginia in 1939 began getting tattooed under official health regulations to prevent infections, reflecting greater sanitary control in the United States Navy. This advance helped establish tattooing as a safer practice tied to the naval and cultural identity of the time, inspiring new traditions. The opening of Yankee Stadium in 1923 marked a milestone in American baseball history, strengthening New York as a center of the sport. This iconic stadium gave the public a modern and grand space, expanding national passion and shaping United States sports culture in the following decades. Sean Connery, during the filming of Dr. No in 1962, made his debut as James Bond, an iconic pop culture character. The film was crucial in establishing the James Bond franchise, which influenced spy cinema worldwide and cemented the image of the British secret agent. Federico Fellini directed La Dolce Vita, a film released in 1960 that marked Italian cinema and influenced world culture by portraying the search for pleasure and the emptiness of modernity. This iconic work highlighted social criticism and opened the way for contemporary auteur cinema. Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell left their handprints and footprints in cement at Grauman's Chinese Theater in 1953, a milestone symbolizing the importance of stardom in Hollywood. This ceremony honors film talent and boosted the global fame of these actresses during the golden age of American cinema, influencing pop culture. Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell film Gentlemen Prefer Blondes in 1952, a milestone in musical cinema that highlighted post-war pop culture. The film boosted Monroe's fame, establishing the glamorous style that would influence fashion and women's behavior in the following decades. Colonel Sanders, founder of the KFC fast food chain, which popularized the franchise in the 20th century, appears beside musician Alice Cooper in 1969. This date marks a time of cultural and commercial expansion in the United States, when brands strengthened their presence in pop culture. Diana Ross appears here early in her career before becoming a star of the Supremes, a symbol of black music in the 1960s. Her success helped break racial barriers, influencing pop culture and opening paths for African American artists in white-dominated spaces. Jane Mansfield and Mickey Hargitay represent the glamour and pop culture of the 1960s, a time marked by the boom in film and television. Mansfield was an icon of American cinema, while Hargitay, a former bodybuilding champion, influenced beauty standards. The couple symbolizes the rise of mass media and popular entertainment. Charlie Chaplin, with his wife Una O'Neill and 6 of their 11 children, represents an emblematic mid-20th century family during a time of cultural change after World War II. Chaplin was an icon of silent film, and his influence continued even with the rise of talking pictures, reflecting changes in the industry and society. Kelly's Heroes brought Donald Sutherland and Clint Eastwood together in a 1970 film set during World War II, illustrating the military conflict that marked the middle of the 20th century. The production highlighted soldiers' stories and strategies, influencing popular culture with its critical and humorous approach to war. Castro, taking part in blood donation for victims of the earthquake in Peru in 1962, shows a significant humanitarian gesture, in a moment of crisis. This earthquake caused major damage, highlighting international solidarity and social involvement during natural disasters. The action reinforced the importance of immediate humanitarian aid. Bill Clinton and Boris Yeltsin, leaders of the United States and Russia, symbolized the new post-Cold War era by meeting in 1995 and emphasizing cooperation between the former rival powers. This dialogue marked the transition to a less tense relationship, with global effects on diplomacy and international security. First-grade students in New York watched the educational program The Science Corner in 1957, reflecting the rise of television as a teaching tool in the post-war era. This milestone helped popularize science education in schools, influencing future generations with more interactive and visual methods. In 1956, progress in making hospital care more humane was already showing positive effects, as shown by ducklings comforting a hospitalized girl. This moment reflects the growing importance of psychological care in children's hospitals, promoting better recovery and well-being. It is an example of whole-person care. The phrase "Office of the Future" 1982 points to a period when technological progress was beginning to transform corporate practices with the use of mainframe computers and basic terminals. The 1980s marked the transition to computerized offices, an early symbol of workplace automation and the rise of the digital era, deeply influencing business productivity and organization. This context introduced patterns that still shape corporate environments today. Flying first class on Swissair in the 1960s symbolized luxury and innovation in commercial aviation. This era marked the global expansion of international flights and higher passenger comfort, helping popularize long-distance air travel with style and sophistication. The experience reflected a new social standard. The Merrymaker excursion program departing from St. Pancras in 1972 reflects the democratization of tourism in the United Kingdom, made easier by the growth of rail travel after World War II. The offer of affordable second-class tickets brought cities such as Leeds, York, and Chester closer to a wider public, contributing to regional economic and cultural growth. This practice encouraged popular leisure, showing the social transformation of the time. Photomat booths made fast development of color photos on glossy paper easier in the United States in the 1960s, marking an advance in popular access to instant photography. This service, made possible by technologies such as Kodak film, made capturing and printing memories more accessible to the general public. Experimental vehicles, such as the Rhino, created in 1954, reflect the search for innovation after the war, a period marked by technological advances and exploration of new transportation concepts. This model illustrates attempts to expand the types of terrain cars could handle, influencing later off-road vehicle projects. United States Air Force personnel appear beside a typical 1950s fighter jet, a period marked by the Korean War, a decisive conflict in containing communist expansion. This war influenced military strategy and international politics during the Cold War, strengthening alliances in the Pacific. The sign with the message, "What you see here, what you do here, what you hear here, when you leave here, let it stay here," points to the effort to protect military secrets during World War II, especially at Allied bases and camps. This practice was vital to prevent leaks that could compromise strategic operations. Women dressed in 1920s fashion wait to vote at a place marked by the polling station sign, symbolizing the advance of women's voting rights after victories in several countries. This milestone encouraged civic participation and strengthened democracy by expanding political rights. The scene reveals the social transformation of the time. Beauty contests gained international attention through events such as the 1957 International Posture Queen, which celebrated women's elegance and posture. This milestone influenced the decade's beauty and cultural standards, supporting the fashion industry and the value placed on women's public image. The outdoor playground in Chicago, photographed in 1903, portrays childhood before the creation of modern safe play spaces. This time marked the beginning of concern for children's leisure and public health, encouraging the construction of public areas for children's social and physical development in the city. Women preparing pies for a dinner at a Methodist church in Hartford, Michigan, reflect the community effort after World War II in 1947, when returning soldiers strengthened social ties. These events were crucial for rebuilding the social fabric and mutual support in small towns. The delivery of new Ford cars by train in the 1940s reveals the importance of the auto industry in that period, marked by recovery after World War II. Rail transportation was essential for large-scale distribution, establishing the automobile as a symbol of modernity and economic development. Mass production influenced social and urban mobility. In the 1920s, car camping became popular in the United States, reflecting social changes and the growth of the auto industry after World War I. This new form of leisure allowed families to explore nature with more independence, encouraging domestic tourism and changing the lifestyle of the emerging middle class. The practice of milking a cow on the platform at King's Cross in London in the 1920s highlights how railway stations served unexpected functions. At that time, rail transportation spread fresh goods, boosting the British economy and urbanization after World War I. This scene illustrates a period of intense social transformation. The presence of the local store C.A. Donna Heat's Groceries in Lincoln, Vermont, reinforces the small-scale economy typical of the 1930s and 1940s. This period marked economic changes in the United States, especially after the Great Depression, influencing consumer habits and local jobs. Coca-Cola symbolizes the national popularity of brands. Commercial streets displayed bright signs with old-style lettering and digital clocks, reflecting post-war urban daily life. The sale of 2 trouser suits showed the growth of men's fashion consumption in centers like London, an emblematic setting of global economic recovery in the following decades. In the 1960s, moments like the one recorded in 1966 reveal everyday ironies amid fast social and cultural change. This era brought advances in cars and lifestyle that reflected the modernization of the United States and influenced global changes in popular culture and technology. California in 1960 was experiencing the height of youth culture with fashion and attitudes that reflected social change. The growth of rock and roll and the use of jeans symbolized generational rebellion, an important milestone that influenced changes around the world in the following decades. The photograph titled "Lady and Her Horse on a Snowy Day" in 1899 captures the late 19th century, a period marked by the transition from the rural world to the industrial era. This historical moment shows a way of life still based on farming and direct contact with nature before the major urban and technological changes of the 20th century. The image reveals habits and clothing typical of the time, showing the importance of horses as transportation and companions in rural settings during the harsh winter of that era. The black and white photograph shows a boy in formal clothing in front of a rustic house, typical of the early 20th century, when many rural families lived in simple homes. This context reflects agrarian Brazil, whose urban and industrial transformation would gain strength after 1930, gradually changing the country's social profile. The two men pictured reflect the Victorian style of the 1870s, a period marked by strict social organization and industrial progress. This period deeply influenced fashion and social relations, establishing patterns that defined male behavior and identity in England during that century. A cyclist from Estonia riding a handmade bicycle in 1912 shows popular innovation in rural transportation before full industrialization. This practice reflected local creativity and the importance of individual mobility in daily life, preparing the way for modernization in remote areas of the country. The simplicity of the clothing shows the socio-economic context of the time. The We Love History sign reflects fascination with valuing the past in an American urban scene from the early 20th century, marked by formal clothing and police uniforms of the time. This appreciation of history influenced cultural movements that preserved memory and national identity, crucial to strengthening patriotism. Men in suits and hats walk through narrow streets of a city with tall 20th century buildings, a common scene in urban centers of the time, reflecting economic growth and rapid urbanization that fueled social changes between the world wars and pushed global industrial development forward. Christmas in 1951 in Blue Earth, Minnesota, reflects the post-World War II atmosphere in the United States, when the economic boom encouraged consumer spending and valued family traditions. This period marked the consolidation of the American dream and the strengthening of the middle class that would influence popular culture in the following decades. The poster "Cool Water for Tired and Thirsty" horses reflects care for urban animals in the early 20th century, when horses were essential for transportation and work. Groups such as the Massachusetts Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals promoted this care, marking a period when animal protection was gaining strength and influencing future animal welfare laws. High school football players train in Chicago in the early 20th century, reflecting the sport's growing popularity in the United States. In 1906, the creation of early rules to protect athletes changed the game, influencing the formation and regulation of modern American football. This process made the sport an essential part of American culture. The Eiffel Tower, a symbol of modernity, opened in 1889 for the World's Fair, marked the architectural and tourism evolution of Paris. By the 1990s, it was already a global historic icon, attracting millions and symbolizing cultural exchange and world heritage protected by UNESCO. The office of the German leader in the Reich Chancellery in Berlin, known as the Führer's study, was little used by him around 1940 and reflects the power of the German regime during World War II. This place symbolizes the centralization of command in Germany, whose impact led to deep geopolitical changes. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.